What's going on, guys? It's Form. I am back with more Go XLR tutorial videos brought to you by the most average streamer, average computer user, average Go XLR user you've ever seen in your entire life. And yes, I've probably worn the same t-shirt and same hat combo before. Today, we're going over lighting and routing. One of the last things we have to go over. We'll see you in there. Let's go. Wow, that was cheesy. All right, guys, welcome back to your Go XLR app. If this is your first time looking at the app, go watch the other previous videos that go through the first 4 or 5 tabs, I believe it is, and check out features of those as well. Today, we're going over the lighting, which is not super important, but I'll go over and give a few tips that I kind of found out when I was doing it, and the routing, which is one of the biggest parts of the Go XLR. In here, your lighting tab, super basic knowledge of lighting. Your entire Go XLR can be customized with lighting. When you push the button, what does it do? The lights, if it fades, if it doesn't fade, the icons, everything. So all 4 channels of your first 4 faders here can be customized individually. As you go through the options here, you can choose different types of images. You can choose if there's a number on it, the color for it, the thickness of the image, the icon itself. This is for your mixer portion, right? So you could do whatever you want. The one thing that I would suggest you make sure you're doing correctly is the mute button. When you hit the mute button, what was happening for me was I had mixed up the colors because I don't think it really explains it too well. Color 1, color 2, I wasn't really sure what that meant. So what you want to make sure is that when you are actively using the sound source, like your microphone, that the correct light is on there. What was happening with me was I had put my mute accidentally to it being lit up blue or green or whatever color this is, and then when it was actually not muted, it was turning red. So I thought it was muted when it wasn't, and it was causing issues, and my brain melted. And then here we are explaining it to you guys. So just make sure your colors are okay with that, and you could change it to a gradient for your faders. You can change a gradient, you could do a meter, you could change the different types of colors, and you could always play with that around as much as you want. Now your effects, the top portion here, you can change the color of each of the 6 tabs of your presets. You can change the color of the megaphone, robot, hard tune, and the FX button. What does it look like when it's pushed? What does it look like when it's not pushed in and not activated? And your different knobs here, your 4 different knobs for reverb, pitch, echo, gender, can all be customized in color, the knob themselves, and what the lights around the knobs look like. And you can also customize the little X here as well. Sampler down here, same thing. You can customize the color of the ABC and the individual buttons inside there as well. Super simple. The cough bleep I think is cool because when you press the cough bleep button, it can be red because you're supposed to be angry when you're using it or something like that. But you can make it any color you want. And again, with the mute, the general mute of all audio on the Go XLR, when you push that, what happens? Mine goes red, and I think that's usually the default basic this is muted type color. And the global items you could change as well, and just it's really fully customizable, and you can be very creative with it. Lighting is pretty simple. It doesn't change the effect of the actual Go XLR itself. Now jumping into the routing. The routing is super important. Now the problem is your setup will differ on how you're going to route your audio. I run a dual PC setup, so that means all my streaming audio and my gaming audio from both PCs need to come through my XLR. Now that is set up with 2 audio cables, 3.5mm audio cables, male ended on both ends. They go from the XLR, from the in and the out ports to the streaming PC, and that means my line out needs to be checked off for everything because line out will be my PC, and it has to be checked off with line in so that the streaming PC hears what my gaming PC is doing. Makes sense. When you're streaming, you want to make sure your game, your audio, your Spotify, your YouTube, your Google, whatever, can be heard through that source, right? So make sure those are checked off appropriately for your setup. Most times, if you're running a single PC setup with the Go XLR, which I used to do, you want to make sure your broadcast stream mix is checked off for everything. The line in won't necessarily matter because you're not using it, but make sure your system is checked off as well. The game and the console won't matter necessarily unless you are using those for something else, but you may want to make sure that those are all checked off properly, because in Streamlabs, you're going to be adding that broadcast stream mix as your single audio source for your Go XLR, which will then capture absolutely everything. Game, chat, music, everything. Sounds, alerts, everything, okay? So you just want to make sure that this is routed properly. That's for your inputs and your outputs. Down here for your sampler, which is these little buttons, which is the sound effects that we talked about in a different video. But down here is what is the sampler listening to. So when you're recording something with your sampler, and I kind of quickly explained this during that video specifically, you check off what you want to hear. So if your friend in Discord is saying something and you want to record their voice as a sound clip for your Go XLR and your stream per se, you want to make sure you check off chat. That way, when you hold the button down, whatever is coming through your chat, which is your Discord communications, it'll hear it. So your mic, you can do your system as well, or your music. So I think it's pretty useful. So the routing of your Go XLR is very, very important. If you have any specific questions about your setup and what routing you should have, please drop it in the comments and I'll do my best to get the information if I don't already know it, to make sure that you're doing the proper routing system, process, ways. Make sense? Makes sense. Last but not least, in the Go XLR system application, you have your system tab, which gives you absolutely everything, gives you more information, your analytics, global settings, about the Go XLR software updates, and all that good stuff. That being said, you can have different presets here as well. So if you want one that during sleep mode, which you could set to all the volumes muted, all the lights off, stuff like that, is very, very useful at nighttime when you don't want this big Go XLR, shining in your room or shining in the corner of your room or in your living room or wherever you are, right? If you don't want all the lights going on, you just put it on sleep mode and you just double click and then it changes the template that you're on, right? The profile. Aside from that, that is the Go XLR in its entirety. We've done a lot of different videos about the Go XLR. Please check out the video as well on how to set things up depending on if you're a 1 PC or if you're on a 2 PC stream type dual setup, right? So I'm going to make that as well. So that'll kind of explain what the actual hardware hookup is, where the wires go, and that kind of stuff, to make sure that you're doing it properly the first time and you don't have to redo it a million times over and get mad at yourself. All right, guys, there you have it. That is the lighting and the routing tabs in the Go XLR. We also went over the system and the different profiles quickly that you can have within the unit itself. The lighting, customizable, whatever you want. The routing, super important based on the different type of system that you're having set up. If it's a 1 PC or if it's a dual PC setup, and what you want routed where. It's very simple. It looks complicated. I was scared as ever when I first looked at it. I said, I don't know what I'm doing here. One video later helped me out. So hopefully this video helps you out. So make sure, if you have any questions about the routing, the lighting, or anything else related to the Go XLR, please drop that in the comments below. Like the video, helps us get seen that much more. Subscribe to the channel because you love my hat and my Christmas tree. Its name is Tony, and we're going to see you next time. All right? I can't wait. We'll talk later.